So Xerneas has been added to Pokemon Go, and if you're not familiar already, it's not great. It's not good, because it has Tackle and Zen Headbutt as its fast moves. And those fast moves are basically the moves that Pokemon Go gives Pokemon that they want to be bad. Those are the official trademark named bad fast moves for Pokemon in both raids and in PvP. So Xerneas got a little shafted there. There was a little hope that Tackle was a placeholder for Geomancy. Geomancy is Xerneas' signature move from the main series games, and we don't have a fairy type fast move other than Charm in Pokemon Go. And unfortunately for Xerneas, despite being a fairy type legendary Pokemon, it cannot learn Charm. So we were kind of hoping that maybe Geomancy would come in as a fast move at the last minute and save Xerneas' meta viability in the game, but it didn't happen. And the situation's a little crooked too, because in the promotional video, the official Pokemon Go promo for Xerneas and Yveltal, the music starts playing, it's all bump, 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 bump. Xerneas shows up, and it's using Geomancy. The animation there, that's Geomancy. And then Yveltal shows up, and it's it's using Oblivion Wing. That's its signature move. But now Xerneas is in the game, and there is no Geomancy. So I feel a little bit cheated here. At any rate, Xerneas does not have Geomancy right now, but it could get Geomancy in the future. So in this video, I'm going to be going over the future viability of Xerneas should it get Geomancy as either a fast move or a charge move in Pokemon Go, and how that affects its performance in both PvP and in raids. By the way, if you're not aware, there is a Luminous Legends X event going on in Pokemon Go with the debut of Xerneas, which is bringing 4 new Pokemon to the game. And if you're curious about just how good those Pokemon are, I already did an analysis on that. So link in the description to that analysis if you want to check them out. At any rate, let's get into Xerneas. By the way, if you want a raid guide on Xerneas, you're interested in how to best do Xerneas in the raids, link in the description to the raid guide on GamePress. Pretty simple, just use Mega Gengar, just use Metagross, you got it. So first we're going to look at Xerneas in Master League PvP. And Master League is probably going to be the best PvP league for Xerneas with Geomancy as a high energy gaining fast move. Here we're using Snarl in place of that. I did run simulations with Incinerate, and they are roughly the same as the Snarl one, so don't get too tied up on the composition of the fast move. The main goal here, though, is to look at it as a higher energy gaining fast move, so it can contrast to Charm a bit there. A little bit of diversity in our fairy type Pokemon. And running these base simulations using the 2 shield in the Master League, you can see that Xerneas isn't doing all that hot even with a high energy gaining fast move. We only have 12 wins, and we got a staggering 15 losses. Well, Xerneas is actually quite a bit better than what this basic simulation is showing you. The reason why Xerneas is underperforming so heavily here is because Close Combat is a lower energy cost charge move than Moonblast, and as a result, the basic PvPoke simulation is trying to bait shields from the opponent using Close Combat, shredding our defense in the process because Close Combat lowers your defense by 2 stages. So if you pick through the matchups a little bit more closely, you go through each individual simulation, you can see that Xerneas is actually way better, and it only has a handful of true hard losses. And then some matchups that have some interesting shield play, and then of course a bunch of really big wins. And when it comes to the really big wins of Xerneas, I'd say most of the matchups are pretty big wins. I mean, obviously for one, we have all the different dragon type Pokemon, especially the ones using Dragon Breath. Of course, Xerneas being a pure fairy type Pokemon, it's going to be resisting those attacks, and it's going to be hitting back with the super effective Moonblast. And if it has good energy gains, it can reach those charge moves relatively quickly, and it is relatively tanky. So unlike Togekiss, it's not going to be relying on the 2 shield situation to overcome a lot of these different Pokemon. Especially when it comes to Dialga, just 1 Close Combat from Xerneas is going to be lights out from Dialga, and if it is a good energy gaining fast move with the Geomancy there really isn't a whole lot of risk of getting hit by the Iron Head. And you could also potentially go straight Moonblast as well and defeat the Dialga that way. So Xerneas definitely has a ton of different play into the Dialga, definitely mastering that matchup. And then of course, having good matchups against all the dragons and different fighting type Pokemon, and because of the close combat, various steel type Pokemon as well. So all around, Xerneas is an extraordinarily threatening Pokemon when it comes to the Master League. Now, if you are curious about the whole bait goof situation here, I think the Machamp matchup definitely puts it on full display. How is Xerneas losing to Machamp? And yeah, if you look at the matchup specifically, you can see that it's baiting twice with close combat, landing close combat, and then just getting KO'd by Rock Slide like a complete dork because it baited with close combat. If you remove close combat from its move pool there and you just go straight Moonblast, you can see that we are absolutely beating the Machamp matchup. Machamp doesn't have a whole lot of hope against us, and that's just using straight Moonblast with them double baiting cross chops as well. So it is a really good matchup for the Xerneas there, which the base simulations would lead you to believe otherwise. When it comes to the Pokemon that can truly hard counter this mighty Titan there, the two biggest hard counters to Xerneas for sure are going to be the Metagross and Ho-Oh, and that comes to no surprise. Metagross is a steel type Pokemon using Bullet Punch and Meteor Mash. If this thing wasn't beating Xerneas, I'd be pretty upset, right? And then Ho-Oh here, Ho-Oh is the only like Master League viable Pokemon that can resist both of Xerneas' charge moves. So Fairy type damage is resisted by Fire type Pokemon, Fighting type damage resisted by Flying. So Ho-Oh is a pretty natural predator as well to the Xerneas. The other two hard losses that Xerneas has is going to be against Kyogre and Rhyperior. Basically the combination of their bulk, their heavy fast move damage, and their early enough charge moves allows them to get the one over on Xerneas more often than not. Our good boy Rhyperior here is also tanky enough to tank a close combat, and interestingly enough, if it takes the close combat, right, if it throws close combat, I guess, then Surf becomes pretty lethal to Xerneas there. So yeah, pretty good counter. I think Rhyperior Stonks might go up a little bit from this. Of course, Kyogre beats Rhyperior, so Kyogre Stonks also going up, should Geomancy Fast Move Xerneas become a thing. And then when it comes to other Pokemon like Groudon, Landorus Incarnate Form, Giratina O, these matchups, I guess kind of the Snorlax matchup a little bit too, but Xerneas kind of dominates Snorlax if it plays the matchup well. But when it comes to the other three, that becomes kind of a little bit of a bait fest. Like if Groudon lands the Earthquake and baits with the Fire Punch, then it can beat Xerneas, but if it fails to do that, then Xerneas is going to beat it. And then similar situation kind of plays out for Landorus and Giratina O there. So those are Pokemon that do have play into Xerneas, can potentially beat it, but generally, they're not exactly countering it. And then when it comes to all the other losing matchups that you see here, Xerneas, for the most part, very easily beats these Pokemon. It can beat the Mewtwo there, just straight Moonblast, for example. While it is saying that we're having a loss, in the base simulation here, that's just, like I showed you with the Machamp, it's just because it's baiting with close combat. So I think Xerneas in the Master League, if it gets Geomancy as a good energy gaining fairy type fast move, it could be a top meta threat for sure in the Master League, having a complete domineering matchup over the Dialga. I don't think it's so good that it would become like a super centralizing threat, like as centralizing as Dialga is, but because it is so good and because it beats Dialga so well, I think it will kind of pull the meta away from being so focused on Dialga and will make things a little bit more interesting in the Master League, should that ever happen. Things are a little bit more simple when trying to imagine Xerneas in the Ultra League meta, because if you're thinking about a fairy type Pokemon with a energy gaining fast move, we already kind of have that in Granbull with Snarl. And interestingly enough, both the Xerneas and Granbull have a very similar stat product. They're almost identical in their stat product. So we already basically have Xerneas in the Ultra League through Granbull. And unfortunately for Xerneas, Granbull is a little bit better at the job than Xerneas is. For one, Granbull does have Charm access, and a lot of people do expect Granbull to carry Charm, so a Snarl Granbull is kind of like a surprise factor against your opponent. They're expecting it to be a Charm Pokemon, but then it's not a Charm Pokemon. If Xerneas released with Geomancy as a energy gaining fast move, that would be the only type of set that Xerneas would really be running, and it would be highly predictable. Your opponent would see a Xerneas and they'd know exactly how to manage it 100% of the time. To make matters even worse for Xerneas here, as a Granbull analog, is its coverage. It doesn't have Crunch as a charge move. And unlike Master League, where only Ho-Oh is really resisting Xerneas' attacks, Xerneas has many Pokemon to contend with in the Ultra League. I mean, we got Venusaur, we got Talonflame, we got Charizard, we got Gengar, all as top meta threats in the Ultra League, and they all resist all of Xerneas' charge moves. And then to make matters even worse, Xerneas doesn't exactly have a great matchup against other meta threats as well, such as Swampert and Registeel, and basically every single charm user in the Ultra League. They all have a pretty easy time dealing with Xerneas here. So ultimately, even if Xerneas did get a pretty big upgrade, I don't think it would make a big splash in the Ultra League PvP. And then when it comes to the Great League, Xerneas is too big for the Great League, so probably not worth thinking about too much there either, but same situation would probably apply where it's just kind of a more awkward, kind of a worse Granbull. And Granbull with Snarl isn't even really a thing in Great League, so I think Xerneas would have a miserable time there should it be allowed in that meta. Then when it comes to Xerneas as a raid attacker, clearly having a fairy type fast move would be a big boon for it and would make it very clearly, a top meta fairy type attacker. And unfortunately, even if it did get Geomancy as a fast move, it's still held back by the Moonblast. When it comes to PvE charge moves, raid attacking charge moves, Moonblast isn't that great. It's a single bar charge move, 100 energy cost. Dazzling Gleam is just straight up better. Dazzling Gleam has 30 less damage, but it has half the energy cost. So as you can see here, these are some handpicked simulations from the DPS TDO calculator on GamePress, and the Geomancy plus Moonblast moveset here is the bottom of the barrel as far as these featured fairy type attackers. Togekiss and Gardevoir, definitely above it. Even Mega Altaria is going to be above the Geomancy fast move Xerneas. If they gave it Geomancy as a fast move and Dazzling Gleam as a charge move, a little double update there, then you can see that Xerneas would ascend Togekiss and Gardevoir, but that would require it to get 2 moves changed instead of just 1. What is more likely to happen for Xerneas at the end of the day is them just adding Geomancy as a very, very powerful charge move. And if Geomancy was as good as Aura Sphere, even with Tackle as a fast move, it will outperform the current fairy type Pokemon, the non-Shadow, non-Mega fairy type Pokemon in the game. Shadow Gardevoir would be like a glass cannon kind of option still, having a very, very high attack but very, very low bulk. And technically slightly better than Xerneas, but that does require you to max out a Shadow Gardevoir. So as a non-Shadow option, Xerneas would be top banana with Tackle and Geomancy as a very powerful charge move. And given Pokemon Go's track record of making the signature moves of Pokemon into charge moves, this is probably going to be the very likely situation. So this is pretty hopeful, I guess, for the raid situation on Xerneas, because if Xerneas only needs the charge move update to be good, then that's something that is likely to happen and, pretty predictable in the future whenever Pokemon Go decides to do that. But when it comes to the PvP side of the force, this is kind of like a death sentence almost for Xerneas, because even if Geomancy is crazy, crazy powerful, it is very unlikely to make up for the fact that it has Tackle and Zen Headbutt in PvP. So if Xerneas were to be good in PvP with Geomancy as a charged attack, it would have to get a new fast move. And another reason why a lot of focus is on Xerneas getting Geomancy as a fast move is because there really aren't a whole lot of fast move options for Xerneas to learn in Pokemon Go. Here, I just have a list of attacks that Xerneas can learn in the main series games off of Smogon here. It's just alphabetical order, it shows all the attacks anyways, so this is the preferred list for me when I do this kind of content. And if you do go through this, I guess link in the description if you want to check it out yourself, you'll see that Geomancy and Misty Terrain are the only 2 fairy type attacks that aren't in Pokemon Go yet. So I guess Misty Terrain would be awkward as a fast move, right? I mean, Charm was kind of awkward as a attack in Pokemon Go to begin with, so anything could happen, right? But it doesn't seem super likely that Xerneas is going to get a good fast move in the game if Geomancy becomes a charge attack. I mean, the possibility does always exist that any one of these attacks that doesn't already exist in Pokemon Go, could kind of get like the lock-on treatment, just be a crazy good energy gaining fast move at the expense of all damage, and that could be good for a Geomancy charge move Xerneas in PvP, but that requires like 2 layers of like predictive analysis, and that's 2 layers too many for me to give you a good assessment on how a charge move Xerneas would be in Pokemon Go PvP. So I guess as far as that goes, we'll have to see what the future holds. It's just a really awkward situation for Xerneas. I'm personally hoping that they do something unique and new, and they give Geomancy as a fast move, and then Xerneas could be crazy good in Master League PvP. That does hurt it for raids, but who really cares about raids nowadays anyways, right? And it would be decent enough for raids, so I don't know. What are your thoughts on this situation? Do you want Geomancy to be a fast move or a charge move? Are you excited for Xerneas as it is in Pokemon Go right now, or are you kind of like miffed that Pokemon Go hurt this thing by design so they could maybe sell us a better Xerneas in the future? I'm curious what you gotta say on that. And if you got any questions on this content, comment below, let me know what's up, and I'll be happy to help you out. If you enjoyed this content and you want to see more like it, well, make sure to subscribe to SwagTips. I'd also like to give a special shout out to these patron supporters. If you want to support the Swagman on Patreon, link in the description. The other two hard losses it has are going to be against Kyogre and not Kyogre. Who's the other Pokemon? It was Kyogre and Rhyperior. Yeah.